go ahead and make sure got this Instagram feed up. And there we go. I am Coach James, and I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics, which is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 8th grade. Let me try that again. Kindergarten through 6th grade students. We may have an option to go all the way up to 8th grade, but for now it's kindergarten through 6th grade students. Teach them about a range of science and physics-related topics, including, but not limited to, drag, lift, aerodynamics, downforce, potential energy, kinetic energy, Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, and a range of science and physics-related topics. Once the students have learned all the science, once we have conducted experiments to drive home those concepts, then and only then do I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars, and each student selects a Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything they've learned in the course. Once they have selected their car, then they examine their car, they take pictures of their cars, they document the year the car was manufactured, they weigh the car, they test the speed of the car. After they have observed all of that, entered the information into a spreadsheet, then they set up a 1/64th scale quarter-mile drag strip and proceed to race the cars. And then they observe how their cars performed. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And if they had the chance, would they select that car again, or would they make a different selection based on everything they've observed? So we have fun with Hot Wheels cars. We learn science. What could be better? If you would like more information about our science program, All About Aerodynamics, then all you have to do is go to our website, aerodynamics.com, if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube. Or if you're watching on Instagram on a computer, you're seeing more information over there. But if you are not, all you have to do is go to aerodynamics.com and you can find out more detailed information about our science program. Or you can just follow us on Instagram, Aerodynamics, and the link is in the bio. If you have any questions, you can always send me a message and I would be happy to tell you how we can bring our science program to your school or your organization or your special event. But this is not all about aerodynamics. This is all about Aerodynamics presents Wind Tunnel Wednesday. So what is Wind Tunnel Wednesday? Well, we have the Funtech Labs 1/64th scale wind tunnel. So it is a wind tunnel that is scaled down, and you can put Hot Wheels cars in it, Matchbox car, any 1/64th scale die-cast car. You can put those in the wind tunnel, turn the wind tunnel on, and you can see how the air flows over, under, and around those cars. And you can get an idea about the aerodynamic profile of the car. And we can put different cars in there, different styles, different shapes, and really get an idea of their aerodynamic profile and what's happening as they move through the air. Why is this important? Well, aside from the basic science and aerodynamics lessons, every Saturday, which is right here if you're watching on the widescreen version of this presentation, we have something called AtTheTrack.live, where I introduce new cars into our All About Aerodynamics fleet. And we take a look at those cars, review those cars, and take photos, a little video, and then take them out to the track, and we have a little mini tournament. During that program, you have the opportunity to participate because you can go to AtTheTrack.live, which is down there, and you can select the choose a car option. And if you select that option, you will be taken to this page. And on this page, you will see all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics AtTheTrack.live fleet. And at last count, the number was about 848 cars. So we have 848 different cars for you to choose from. There are fantasy cars. There are cars based on real cars. There are trucks. There are character cars. There are cars from the 70s, cars from the 80s, cars from the 90s, and just a wide range of choices that you have to make. And all you have to do is find the car that you would like to pick to race. And when you find that car, you can take the numbers. So let's say you're scrolling through. Let's say your lucky number is 264. So you scroll down, you find car number 264, and it turns out that it is this one, the forward speed. And you say, you know what? I want to take a closer look at that car. Well, then all you have to do is click on that car, and you can get a close-up look at it. In this case, this actually is a car that students have selected in the past, and this is not a bad car to pick, not at all. Especially on our track, this is a great pick because it's got a low profile. It is, I believe this is a metal car, so it's metal on metal, not metal on plastic. But because it does have that low profile, it gives it a lower kind of center of gravity, and it does pretty well on our track. Now those turbine engines, because they are plastic and they are solid, it's not going to give, I think that's going to create some drag, and that's something that we'll be talking about a little bit more today. But this is still a solid pick if that's the way you want to go. But if that was the car that you wanted to pick, if that was the route you wanted to take, all you would have to do is take the number, in this case 264, you drop that in the chat, and then I would pull the car, and you'd be entered into the tournament to race, and it's just that simple. But today, let's say you don't know which car you want to pick. You're just scrolling through, and you want to check out the aerodynamic profile, because what's going to happen is when we put these cars in the wind tunnel, then we're going to be able to see what their aerodynamic profile is. How does the air move over, under, and around these cars as they are moving through the air? So, what you want to do is ideally find a car with a similar aerodynamic profile to our fastest in fleet car. And our fastest in fleet car is currently this one. It is the Blitz Speeder. The Blitz Speeder is our fastest in fleet car, meaning it has won our tournament on Saturdays at AtTheTrack.live. It has won the tournament the last 3 weeks. But what's interesting about the Blitz Speeder is the Blitz Speeder was our champion for 17 weeks, starting in late November, or right around Thanksgiving, beginning of December. The Blitz Speeder ran up against the Gazella R. And the Gazella R came in 2 out of 3 races, beat the Gazella, and became our fastest in fleet champion. So the Gazella had been champion for the Blitz Speeder had been champion for 17 weeks. The Gazella comes in, beats it, and then we have the Gazella's run. The Gazella was champion for 16 weeks. People were picking cars, trying to beat it, couldn't beat it. I was introducing new cars to the fleet, trying to beat it, couldn't beat it. At the 17-week mark, right when the Gazella was about to match the Blitz Speeder's record as champion for 17 weeks, we decided, let's bring the Blitz Speeder back, have Gazella versus Blitz Speeder, a champion versus champion rematch. We did that, and the Blitz Speeder destroyed the Gazella to become a 2-time champion. So the Blitz Speeder has been our fastest in fleet champion for the past 3 weeks, ever since it beat out the Gazella. And now we've been looking for cars in the fleet. We have been looking for, viewers have been picking cars, trying to beat the Blitz Speeder. And so far, we haven't found it. So this car is extremely fast. So what we are going to do is we're going to take the Blitz Speeder. I'm going to stick it in the wind tunnel. We're going to check out the aerodynamic profile of the Blitz Speeder. Why? Because the thinking is that any car that's going to beat the Blitz Speeder is probably going to have a similar aerodynamic profile. So when you pick a car, what you want to look for is a car that the air flows over, under, and around in a similar way to the Blitz Speeder, what we see with the Blitz Speeder. So let's go ahead and put the Blitz Speeder into the wind tunnel. and switch over here, and we will take a look at the Blitz Speeder, which is, if you want to see how the Blitz Speeder performs, all you have to do is go back to any of our episodes of AtTheTrack.live, which you can find on our YouTube page under the Live tab. And all of the episodes are listed. There are time codes in there. So if you want to see the reviews, if you just want to jump to the races, whatever you want to do, you can do there. And you can see exactly how dominant the Blitz Speeder has been. And like I said, we have 849 cars that you can choose from. One of those cars is, in theory, one of those cars should be faster than the Blitz Speeder, but we haven't found it yet. So let's take a look at the Blitz Speeder in the wind tunnel right now and get this thing cranked up. Again, this is the Funtech Labs Windsible, and they are thinking about coming out with versions for larger scale cars, 1/12 scale and maybe 1/24 scale and 1/18 scale, I think. But for right now, we have this one, the 1/64 scale, and what we can see, this is at 67 miles per hour. So this is what we've got. We can crank it up a little bit. We're up at 107 miles per hour simulated. And one of the things that we are looking for with these cars is when we're looking at the airflow, we are looking at the air following the curved surface of the car. So it hits the front and starts to come up over the top. And that is the Coanda Effect, and it basically just explains how moving fluids like air tend to follow a curved surface as opposed to a straight line. But let's turn this up a little bit. We're now at 134 miles per hour. And one thing you're going to see with the Blitz Speeder that you're not necessarily going to see with all of the other cars that we introduce is that the air, you see the flow, and the stream pretty much stays attached to the body all the way until the end when it comes off of this wing, this sort of large spoiler slash wing at the back, and then pulls off. But some of the other cars, what you'll see is separation, and you'll see this airflow separate from the body at some point. Usually it's right around the point where the windshield transitions into the roof line. And when you see that separation, that's a problem, because the separation, once the air starts to separate from the body, it creates basically low pressure from that point towards the back end of the car, as opposed to the high pressure that is built up like right at the front of the car. And that difference in pressure serves to slow the car down. And that's pressure drag. And there's basically pressure drag, which occurs when there's a difference in pressure at the front of the car and in the back area of the car. We get pressure drag. In a case with a car like the Blitz Speeder, where the airflow is staying adhered to the body, then we're dealing more with the issue of friction drag. So the air actually moving against the surface of the car. And so any of the Hot Wheels cars that can minimize the drag, both the pressure drag, the friction drag, are going to perform better on our track, because drag is only going to serve to slow the cars down. So you want to, just like with real cars, you want to minimize drag, and as cars move faster, drag increases. So we're at 134 miles per hour. Let's go up to, we're at 174. And you see there's a little more turbulence in the airflow, but for the most part, it's still adhering to the body. It's still sticking right, hitting the front, coming right up along the top. And it's not until it tails off that there is any issue. And you see this sort of turbulent air, this vortex down here at the back end. Okay, and let's go up to 188 miles per hour. And this is the Blitz Speeder. So if we're taking a look at the Blitz Speeder, keeping an eye on that, and seeing what's happening there, and I'll even move the camera a little bit, so you can kind of get an idea over the top. Just kind of see. There's not as much to see from the overhead view with this stream. The Windsible does come with two different nozzles. So this one that we're using is the 5 nozzle stream, and you can see we're at 174 miles per hour right there. And the other nozzle is a single stream that seems to do a better job at showing how the air moves around the sides of the car. I don't know. I think it's a bit of a wider stream, but taking this back down. So this is the Blitz Speeder, and this is our fastest in fleet car. This is the car that has been the fastest car for, it was the fastest car for 17 weeks. Then it lost a race and came back and was once again our champion, and has been our champion for the past 3 weeks now. So if you think you can pick a car that is faster than the Blitz Speeder, then all you really have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live. You will have the 3 options. The one option will be the YouTube stream link, the other is the Twitch stream link, and those are so you can watch the races on Saturday. But the third most important link is the one that says choose a car. And if you select that one, you will be taken to this page. And as I mentioned, all of the cars in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet are listed here, and there are currently 849 cars for you to pick from. So it just stands to reason that if you play the odds, there has to be a car. Well, there doesn't have to be, but you would think there would be a car faster than the Blitz Speeder. And a lot of these cars have tried. I just saw one earlier. We had someone picked the Mach 5 from Speed Racer. This car did very well on the track. It won the Saturday tournament, and then it had the opportunity to go up against the Blitz Speeder, and it was destroyed. The Blitz Speeder just blew it off the track, and that has been something that we've seen consistently with the Blitz Speeder. And so this car couldn't get it done. The Mach Speeder, this one, this was one of our first fastest in fleet cars, and it did a very good job, and it was definitely a fast car. And then some other cars came along and beat it. I don't know that those cones right at the front of the car really were helpful in getting this car to be one of our very fastest cars, because it just looks like those two things will trap air in. And I believe we put a Mach Speeder into the wind tunnel about a month ago, and we can kind of see why this car is not at that top tier of cars in our fleet anymore. We have just a crazy assortment of cars. We have character cars. We have, if We have a this Thomas the Tank Engine car, this locomotoring. We have trains, planes, plenty of automobiles. We have trucks. There's semi-trucks, tow trucks. I believe there's even a garbage truck in there. I wouldn't pick any of those to win, but I'm just saying we have just a wide range of cars. We have cars from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. We have some cars that I had when I was in elementary school years ago. Here's one, the rear ender. This is an old school car with a gimmick where the back end, you can simulate a crash. If you bang another car into the back end, it will flip over and show that the bumper is dented and the rear hatch will pop up. This car is extremely heavy. It's metal on metal like a lot of the old school cars. So I would not pick this car, but you're welcome to. And like I said, all you have to do once you find the car that you want to either pick to race or see in the wind tunnel is take that number that's in front of the car. In this case, let's say you pick this Formula E Gen 2, this car. A little kind of hybrid-y F1 car. Take the number, in this case 157, you take that, drop it into the chat. I will pull that car and we will either bring it to the track or we will take it to the wind tunnel. Either way. So we have a lot of options here. As I mentioned, there are 849 cars, and this Saturday we will introduce more cars, and we will have viewers who will submit their picks for cars to be entered into the races. But we have more cars to put into the wind tunnel, and I think one car that we're going to take a look at is this one. It raced on Saturday, and it's the Supercharged. It is a funny car, a pretty reminiscent of the NHRA. I believe it was the Mustang, NHRA Mustang, I believe. But we've raced a few funny cars over the past several months, and we've never had one that's actually performed well. And there's usually a number of reasons, but this one, the Supercharged, was the very first one to actually win races. And this did extremely well. And it was strange that it did so well because this wing that it has in the back is unique because it is not, there's no opening. So most of the time, if a car has a wing, then it's only going to be this top plastic part, and then below that, it's going to be open so that the air can pass through. But this one is solid plastic, so it's almost just like a scoop. So we were curious to see what would happen when the air hits this area. What does it do? Because it can't pass through. Which with a typical automobile wing, they're shaped in a way to create downforce on the back wheels. I'm not sure that the Hot Wheels cars that have wings, that it works in exactly the same way, because I don't know that the wings are shaped that specifically to generate that downward pressure. And because they're plastic wheels on the plastic track, I'm not sure how that really plays in versus a real car that has rubber tires, so it improves the handling and can, we don't want understeer in a real car. But this car did extremely well, and so I'm excited to put this into the wind tunnel and take a look. Hey, Dan the man says 86. Let's see which car that is. He wants to see. We'll throw it in the wind tunnel. 86. Let me go down here. 82, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this Hardnoze Batmobile. This one's interesting. We have a lot of Batmobiles because we just have a lot of Batmobiles. Various styles and types. I think Batmobiles and Lamborghinis are the two cars that we have the most of. So I will be I will be pulling that. And Dan says, I love that line of cars from when it was younger. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these cars in here are cars that I had when I was a kid and still love them. And when I go to pick cars, I'm either going to pick based on things that appeal to me or things that I think the students would find interesting and cool. And you have all the now, were the hard-nosed cars, were they all Batmobiles, or were there other types? Because I know I do have some, like, these crazy, like, tuned out cars with the larger wheels in the front, and the smaller wheels in the back, and just these crazy shapes and styles. So I'm gonna go pull that one right after we take a look at this Supercharged in the wind tunnel. So let's go ahead and pop this in, and I will see. This is again the Funtech Labs Windsible. It is the 1/64 scale wind tunnel, and they came out with another little dyno device that I paid for, and I don't know when they're going to be shipping, but it will lift the car up, and it simulates it will spin the wheels, which is great because we'll actually be able to get a look at the airflow beneath the car, which we don't really get because the air hits pretty high up on the front of the car. But let's take a look at this Supercharger, because I'm really curious about the back end. What's going to happen with the air when it comes up over the top, presuming it doesn't separate there at the windshield roof line and comes back to this area? What happens? So let's turn this on and take a look. All right, so we pretty much usually just start out at a low setting, which is 67 miles per hour, and not very fast considering how quickly the cars move down our track. But we do see that the airflow is still just following the body lines. Let's turn it up. And we are still seeing the air flow follow the curved surface. Once again, the Coanda Effect, which explains just how a moving fluid like air tends to follow a curved surface. And we're seeing it right there. But again, I'm still curious about this back end. But let's go up. We're at 134 miles per hour. And the air pretty much still seems to be flowing, just right up over the hood, right up the windshield, the roof line, and then back into this area. And it seems to be flowing into this area and then up and out. But let's turn this up a bit. We're up to 161 miles per hour. And the air really isn't detaching from the body until we get to this back edge. But as I mentioned, what we don't want is we don't want to see the air separating from the body, because then we end up creating lower pressure at the back versus the higher pressure in the front, and that creates pressure drag, which serves to slow the car down. We definitely don't want that. So let's take a look, move this, and we can kind of take a look and see what we're seeing there. The overhead view is not really telling us a whole lot. But coming down, and I think this view kind of gives us the best look, is that there is you can see a little bit of separation. When you look at that roof line, between the roof line and that sort of open area of the wing, that inside that area, a little bit of separation, but what we're seeing here really shows that there isn't the flow detachment, and this back wing, for whatever it's worth, this design, this shape, is not really creating the same level, not creating the drag that I would have assumed that it would have, based on the fact that the air cannot flow out through the bottom of this, below the wings. So it's pretty interesting. So let me I'm going to take this up to 174. Take a look at this, and I'm going to grab Dan's car, the 86, that Hardnoze Batmobile. And let's go ahead and just at 174 miles per hour. We're going up to 201. And yeah, this is definitely more, it's a lot different than what I would have expected to see initially. But based on the car's performance, I'm not really all that surprised that we didn't see a really erratic, turbulent airflow and a lot of separation from this car. And that's just, it's one of the things that you can have ideas about what you think the cars will do and how they'll perform and what will happen, but until you actually either get them on the track, put them in the wind tunnel, you really don't know. So I think this car is, well, we approach it in two different ways. Either we see the car on the track first, and then we put it in the wind tunnel because something interesting happened on the track, which is the case with the Supercharged. We cracked the case open and took it to the track on Saturday. And based on its performance, I had to see it in the wind tunnel to see exactly what was happening with the airflow in this area. And because the car performed so well, I didn't expect to see anything strange or out of the ordinary, but I was still curious how the air moved when it hit this area. So Supercharged is the first funny car we've had that has won races, and I believe it won the tournament on Saturday. If you'd like to see how it performed, you can go to AtTheTrack.live, select the live tab on our YouTube page, and you can watch all of the races. If you're in the Instagram, if you're watching this on Instagram, you can check the link in the bio, and there's a tab for the latest episode of AtTheTrack.live, and you can watch it right there. Now, let's take a look at this Hardnoze Batmobile. And this is one that is very interesting. Now, I think if this was the opposite way around, where it had the larger wheels in the back and the smaller wheels in the front, I would think that this might have a shot to do pretty well on the track. With this shape, I don't know, and we're going to see. So if I had to guess, which I'm about to do, I would think that the air is going to hit the front part of this car, come up over the top, and I think it's going to separate here. I don't think it's going to adhere to the body and come down here and then just tail off the back end. I think it's going to hit this area and just tail off, and that is basically going to create a pressure differential that is going to create some additional drag that is going to would serve to slow this car down if it raced. I'm also looking at this front area here, and what will happen when the air hits this area, because this part it's open just a little, so if the air is going in there and getting trapped with no way to exit that area, then now we're just creating a larger, basically it already has a large frontal area, but I don't know that anything with that design is going to help, but we're going to put it in the wind tunnel and check it out and see what we see. So let's grab this, and we will bring it right on over here and get it in the wind tunnel. See if I can get it lined up. Sometimes these cars want to roll forward a bit, which is another thing that the Windsible, the Funtech Labs, I think it's called the Windsible device, will help prevent the cars from rolling, because the wheels will be held in place by the rollers. So looks like we've got it lined up and locked in. Let's see. Okay, so there were other cars in the Hardnoze line. I might have to look, because I think I have some of the other ones, but I would have to check on the actual names and information. Let me turn this light a bit, and we'll see what the Hardnoze Batmobile, what's going to happen. All right, let's go ahead and run Windsible. And let me get it. All right, so now we're up to, what's it doing? Now this thing it's a little temperamental. All right, let me see here. It turned off. So let's go ahead and check, because it does come with this fog fluid, and you have to put it in there, and that's what actually creates the let's see. So we have 149 minutes of fluid remaining. That's good. All right. Go back here. Let's try it again. You never know with these things. All right. And see, and then when I closed it, the car keeps creeping up just a little bit. So let me trying to get it back. All right. See how this works out. All right, so let's see. So right now we're at 67 miles per hour, and the air is following, it's following the lines of the car a bit, but we have to turn this up in terms of the speed to really see. So now we're at 107 miles per hour, and it looks like we have, there is some separation here that it's not necessarily, yeah. So what's happening is, and I'll turn it up, see if we can get it a little faster. So as I turn it up, so now we're at 134 miles per hour, and what we can see is exactly what we were talking about. The air is coming up over the top, and it's not adhering to the body and following the lines of the car down. It's actually separating right here. It separates right there and then just flows over the top. and that is not what you want, because you're going to have high pressure building up in the front, and then as the air is coming over the top, it's separating, and this separation, you're going to end up creating a pressure difference. So there's going to be lower pressure in this area, higher pressure in the front, and it's going to create this pressure drag, which is going to slow the car down on our track, versus the other cars we saw where the airflow is adhering right to the body, and so then you're dealing with friction drag. And let's turn this up. We're at 134. Now we're at 161, and you've got just this vortex, and I mean, the air is turbulent, it's flying off, it's detached, and this car would, and I'm still not certain what exactly is happening with that little cone in the front. I can kind of take a look, but it's hard to get a good look and angle, but that air is going into that little cone area, and it doesn't have any way to just come right back out. But the most important thing that we're observing is the detachment of the airflow, and that's right here. So there's no way that this car would be able to keep up with either the Blitz Speeder, the Supercharged. Now, if this car were reversed, then maybe, if the bigger end was at the back, more like a traditional funny car setup. We're up at 188 miles per hour, but I think that we've seen what we need to see. And it's also notable that, as I mentioned, drag increases with speed, and as I lower the speed, you notice that the separation isn't as prominent. And we are going to, let me take this all the way back down. That Hardnoze Batmobile. And this is exactly why we're putting these cars in the wind tunnel, because we can look at that and already pretty much know that it's going to have trouble on our track. And for anyone who hasn't watched an AtTheTrack.live broadcast, we do not have a gravity track. Most of the Hot Wheels racing that you see online is conducted on a gravity track. We don't have that. We have a flat drag strip. And so with a gravity track, whole different mindset comes into picking the cars, because they're starting at a higher point, and as they move, they are actually, for a time, gaining speed as gravity's pulling them down. That's how they're gaining their speed. With our track, I designed a custom launcher, and with that launcher, the cars are fired out at a high rate of speed, and they're never going to be faster than they are when they first come out of the launcher. On our track, since it's a flat drag track, the cars are already just decreasing in speed as they come out. So they come out really fast, and from that point on, you have friction, you have drag, you have gravity working against the car as it's moving down the track, and those forces are going to determine how the car performs. So when we have our fastest in fleet car, the Blitz Speeder, the car that is able to reduce the impact of those forces the most is usually going to cross the finish line first. And the cars that don't, well, we've seen what happens. So with that Hardnoze Batmobile, we can look at the aerodynamic profile and tell that with the way that the airflow is detaching from the car, it's likely creating pressure drag, which is going to slow that car down and prevent it from being as fast as some of the other cars like the Supercharged and the Blitz Speeder, which are not showing that detached airflow. And I have a couple of graphics that I put together, these two. So we're talking about two things. At the bottom, the Coanda Effect that I mentioned, that explains how a moving fluid like air, it tends to follow a curved surface. And with some of our cars, just like what we saw with the Blitz Speeder, the airflow, you can see it. It's following right along the line of the car. And it is definitely one of our fastest cars. So that's the kind of profile that you want to see. And just in terms of also what we're looking at in the wind tunnel is the air that moves over the top of the car is moving slower. And so that creates higher pressure. And then the air that's moving under the car typically is moving faster. It's just moving in a straight line, and it's basically it's a constricted area, but there's less to impede the airflow. And so then we're dealing with something else, the Venturi effect, which is when air speeds up, flowing through a constricted area, and the pressure drops. So the area of pressure below the car, the air is moving faster, and so there's low pressure. The air moving over the top of the car is slower, and there's high pressure. And ultimately, that just works to create downforce, because the air, essentially, the pressure will go from high to low. So it's creating downforce. But it is just another thing to keep in mind when you are selecting your car to race. So we can put the cars in the wind tunnel, take a look at them, and get an idea about what's going to happen. Let's see, Dan the man, he wants to check out car number 526. So let's take a look and see which car that is, and then I'll pull it. And we have 840 some odd cars to pick from. There's more being added every Saturday on AtTheTrack.live, and you can select a car to race. All you have to do is do what Dan just did and find the car that you would like to see race. All the cars are numbered, and you just take the number. In this case, Dan was looking at this Indy 500 oval car, and it's number 526. So you can click on it, you can take a look, you can see if the car is, usually from the reflection, this one's a little tough, but usually from the reflection you can tell if it's a plastic body on a metal base or a metal body on a plastic base. This looks to be plastic on plastic, but or that orange might be, looks like plastic. But I'm going to grab this car, and we will put it in the wind tunnel, and we will see what it does. Let's see, car number 526. And, all right. I have the car right here, and it turns out it's a little different. It is the blue part of the car that is actually the metal part, and that is this car here. And this is pretty straightforward as far as this type of race car goes. And one thing to note is that with open wheel cars on our track, we always love when the front wheels are protected, because Our track, as I mentioned, fires the cars out at an extremely high rate of speed, and we have had cars that crashed, and open wheel cars that crash without the front wheels being protected. The axles get damaged and bent, and the cars cannot race ever again. We have to just send them off to the great toy box in the sky. So let's take a look at the Indy Oval 500 in the wind tunnel, and perhaps Dan might pick this car to race on Saturday. We can see what it will do. Before the cars race, we actually take the weight of the car, which is another important factor, and it's not really something that you can take into account when you are just picking a car, looking at our website, but it is something that we will take a look at on Saturday if you decide to pick this car to race. All right, let's see here. The Indy Oval. And these cars are interesting. So with we've had some F1 cars in here. And with F1 cars, it's interesting because the real cars, it's less about the aerodynamics and, well, I'm not going to say it's less about the aerodynamics. The object is to create downforce and have those cars, press those tires, press down onto the track and creating that grip for the cornering and the handling. So F1 cars aren't necessarily going to be they're not going to be as aerodynamically efficient in the way that you would typically think, because it's a race car. They are focused much more on downforce. So with this car, we're seeing how the airflow is, but here's one thing to note, that because this car sits so low, that this first stream of air isn't really hitting the car until about this point, and then it starts to we can see how it flows over. But when I get the, actually I'll try it here. I'm going to put something under the car just to lift it up just a little bit, so that maybe we can get the air, get the air hitting it. Now, the problem that I've run into with putting this disc under the car is that it raises the car up so that we can have the airflow hit the car a little higher. I'm sorry, a little lower. But the air that flows underneath kind of gets distorted because there's now an object impeding the airflow. All right, so now turning this up, and this is better because now we can see that this first stream of air is actually hitting the car right at the nose, just dead on. So that's good. So let's go ahead and turn this up. Now we're at 94 miles per hour. And up to 121 miles per hour. And let me just kind of move this in. You might be able to see there's a little bit of... So now that we moved it, we can see there's a little bit of air. The stream of air is coming up from beneath right here. It's a little tough to see. Let's see if we can see anything from overhead. Not really seeing too much, but if I bring it back down. can just see how the air seems, it just flows. It's flowing right over that driver's canopy. And actually what is happening, so the air is coming up. It's coming up over the body. It is hitting the back of this driver's canopy, the driver's seat, and then it is coming around the sides. So you see a little bit of air right here, and that is where the air is hitting this driver's canopy and then coming around the sides. Let's see if I can find an angle. It's a little tough to catch it. You can see it in person. I don't know if it's necessarily translating on the video, but that is definitely what is happening. Yeah, it's a little tough to get the angle, and that's one thing, but you can still see right here that there's this airflow. That airflow is happening as this first stream of air is hitting this driver's canopy and that seat, and then it's coming around this area. So it's not flowing up over the top of this and separating. It's just flowing right around. And that is definitely what we are seeing right there. And that's at 121 miles per hour. Let's turn it up and see if we see anything more distinct. Well, here's something else. So after it interacts in this area with the driver's canopy, it's coming around the sides, and then it's being pulled up. Into this area where there's definite detachment from the body, and the air is sort of coming back together in this area, and there's a little vortex and some turbulent air there, and then some of the air is flowing over the top of the wing, and we've got some turbulence at the back end. Now, I can't tell exactly how that disc that I placed underneath the car is impacting the car, so there is that as an issue. So I don't really want to take too much, make too much of what's happening beneath the car, or even this area here where the air is coming up around the sides, because we put a block essentially beneath the car. So that is the F1, what was it, the Indy 500 oval, or Indy 500 oval. And so this car seems like it would be a solid pick and a solid performer on our track, and it is certainly has most of what you're looking for in terms of a kind of low profile, and I wouldn't be surprised if this car did very well on the track. It is set up to do that. So we have, once again, more than 840 different cars for you to choose from, and all you have to do is join us at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern on AtTheTrack.live, and you can watch it on YouTube, you can watch it on Twitch. We can't do it on Instagram because the ratio, it's a widescreen presentation, and so everything would get cropped to the center if we just did it on Instagram. So, but you can watch it on YouTube and Twitch. The link is in the bio, or you can just go to AtTheTrack.live and find the links there. But again, that most important link is that third option that says choose a car. You select that, and you will be taken to our page that has all of our cars listed. Find the car that you want to race, take the number, drop it into the chat on Saturday, and I will pull that car, and it will be entered into the tournament against all of the cars that I introduce new to the fleet. and we will see which car comes out on top. And the car that wins that tournament will have the opportunity to take on the Blitz Speeder, our current fastest in fleet car. And maybe you can find the car in our fleet that can take out the Blitz Speeder. The Blitz Speeder hasn't had much competition, especially on this second run as champion. So if you can find that car, then hey, good for you. You will go down in all about aerodynamics at the Track Live history as the person who found the car that dethroned the Blitz Speeder. But for now, the Blitz Speeder is our fastest in fleet car. It is our champion. It is the car that's going to be waiting for whichever car comes out on top on Saturday at the Track Live. So, Wind Tunnel Wednesday. We do exactly what we just did. Put cars in the wind tunnel. Look at how the air flows over, under, and around those cars, and try to take what we see here and compare it to what we see on the track, and make those observations, and then make determinations about which cars ultimately are the fastest on our track. So after we get enough data, we should be able to put a car in the wind tunnel, look at what's happening, and then determine how that car will perform on the track. Of course, there's other factors. The weight is a big one, but drag. Reducing drag is the most important factor for the cars racing on our track. Second is getting a good quality launch, and then the weight is also a factor. But we've seen heavy cars. That 70 Superbird that we had last week was the first car that was in the 40 gram range, was weighed, I think it was 42 grams. That's the heaviest car we've ever had be that successful, win races, and move down the track that quickly, that convincingly. We put it in the wind tunnel, and we saw that it had a great aerodynamic profile. So the aerodynamics and reducing drag, it plays a role, plays a huge role, especially on our track, because again, this is not a gravity track, so there's different choices that you want to make on a flat drag track versus a gravity track. So that is Wind Tunnel Wednesday. I am Coach James, and again, if you would like more information on our science program all about aerodynamics, all you have to do is go to aerodynamics.com, or you can go to AtTheTrack.live and then click on the home tab, and you'll be taken to the web page. Or you can just follow us on Instagram, Aerodynamics, and all the information that you need is in the bio. So I'll be happy to give you all the information you need on how to bring our science program to your school or your organization or your special event. But until Saturday, when we are here at 11 a.m. for At The Track Live, I am Coach James. So for At The Track Live, for All About Aerodynamics, and for Wind Tunnel Wednesdays, I will see you at the races.